How many of you are here for the very first time to an Ag Steward event? Be that, so we do webinars, we do summits, we do the virtual classes. Go ahead and put a 1 in the chat if this is your very first time. Put a 2 or 3 or 5 or 10, or if you've been to multiple ones, go ahead. Let's see. So a lot of first timers here. Very cool. Ones, some 2s. Okay. Well, welcome to this community. Yeah, the Fairings, they've been here. They're old timers. They should be teaching this. Yep. And yeah, wherever you're at, Jen, thanks. Some of you have been to once. This is your first one, some to many. Wherever you are at, we welcome you to this community. We're grateful that you're here. Next question is, what brought you here? There was something. Was it a Facebook ad? Was it an email? Was it a friend? Was it an email from one of our participants? So just a quick in the chat, I don't know a number for this, but you could put, saw a Facebook ad, or it was maybe Understanding Ag invited you because of our involvement with them. Yeah, okay, so we got this kind of a combination here. Hey, we even had somebody from Instagram. I know somebody mentioned TikTok brought them here, which we didn't advertise on TikTok. I just thought, I've got this channel, let's revive it. Okay, again, whatever brought you here, you're here for a reason. Trust that. Participate full out, take notes, and I can guarantee that you will walk away from these 2 days. If you are here with an open mind and a desire to learn, you're going to absolutely find the answers that you need. How do I know that? Because I've seen it from the past participants. Are we going to give you every piece so that you can build a profitable regenerative ranch? You have every bit of knowledge that you need? No. When I first attended my first talk from Gabe Brown in Colorado, it was really eye-opening. I came home, I bought a no-till drill. We tried, we failed. We failed a lot more than we tried. We still fail. We still don't know how to apply cover crops in a perennial grass system, and maybe it's not even applicable, but we're still trying it. We're going to get some cover crop seed this week to try to rejuvenate and revitalize some irrigated ground, which is kind of marginal soil, but we have the water to irrigate it this year. So I didn't learn everything that I needed in that first session with Gabe Brown and Alan Williams, and I think Ray Archuleta and many others that were there. That was my first one. It took coming back and repeating, and it started me down a more concise trajectory. I would say my regenerative journey started about a decade earlier, but then when I started learning about, hey, there's this whole aspect of building soil, sometimes utilizing technology, sometimes utilizing livestock, and utilizing the soil test that Liz talked about, where we can actually quantify the results. To me, that was a game changer for me. It took the ideas that I was taking on faith, and it added some substance to it, and a way to be able to really measure, okay, are we getting the results that we want? And then it's progressed from there. So I'd love to share with you here a little bit about my regenerative journey, and this section of this presentation is called the Steward's Journey. The Steward's Journey, because each of us are on a journey towards stewardship. And thanks again for those who've shared in the chat. I'll go back and read through those. All right, but before we do that, something brought you here, right? Something brought you here. It was be it a Facebook ad, be it whatever it was. You might have thought of somebody as you're listening. Hey, I wish that so-and-so, I wish that that they could participate in this. And you know what? It's not too late. There's a link that I'm going to share right here. And I'm going to put it in the chat. I'll share it with everybody. And so, we've asked you to manage your state and turn off all the notifications and things. So for a minute here, we're going to open it up so you can share something. Go ahead, send a quick text message, copy and paste this. this is an opportunity for others within your community, your circle, to jump on. They might say, well, it's already started and maybe I missed out. Hey, that's all right. We're going to send out the recordings to everybody that registers. They'll get access to them, and they'll get access to the rest of today and all of tomorrow. So it's not too late. I encourage you to do that. Pay it forward, whatever got you here. If you can share that with your family, friends, neighbors, whoever you feel is inspired to share it with, it'll bless their lives as well. Cool. Okay. So everybody, if you haven't yet, you probably saw me a couple of presentations ago. I took a walk around the house. I jumped on my phone and got some fresh air. You absolutely can do that. You know, listen in. It's the blessing of technology. I encourage you to take notes along with you. If you guys are multitasking, I saw Jen in her tractor again earlier this morning. Some of you might be out doing chores. It's okay. Turn your video on. I was out walking around the yard in our house, and vitamin D is awesome this time of year. It's good to get out and get some sunshine and fresh air. So at least stand up, stretch, get some movement in. You know, our mind can only intake what our seat can endure. So stand up and stretch a little bit. Cool. I'm going to share my screen here, and we're going to give a little more context on this subject of the steward's journey. Okay, here we go. This is our family a couple years ago. This is the backdrop to one of the properties that we manage. Our family has since grown a little bit. We had one grandchild, now we have 4 and 1 on the way. And we have an additional daughter-in-law that's blessed our family as well. And want to welcome, hey, thanks to Lydia and Margot. Lydia is my daughter-in-law. She's managing the room. She probably got some correspondence from her when you're having glitches with getting logged in this morning. So we want to thank Lydia, and we want to thank Margot, who was all the way around the world in the Philippines. And I don't know what time in the day it is. Why don't you put in the chat what time of day it is for you, Margot? But it's stinking late. It's probably really early, actually, really early tomorrow morning over there. But they're joining us and they're supporting us. My family, as I mentioned earlier, they're on a homeschool trip. They're in central Utah. My wife was on earlier and listening in, and she'll be on as much as she is able to. Each of us have family members that are supporting us. And so, you know, be sure and thank them for the support that they're offering to allow you to be here to focus. That's pretty important. And your team members as well, whether that's employees or whoever's supporting you so that you can be here. So with that, gratitude's super important. So this is my family. They're supporting me from different parts of the world, where they live. The steward's journey starts with, what do you want? Where do you want to be? Take a minute, and I keep a journal with me pretty much all the time, whether that's my phone and taking notes on my phone, or this pretty cool Ag Steward journal that somebody gifted me. And why is that important? Because I can write down the thoughts and ideas. And so for just a minute, I encourage you to write down, what do you want? What is it that you want? Maybe what brought you here? You know, do you want to be profitable in what you're doing? What do you want? So we'll give you a minute just to write down that answer to that question. What do I want? Okay, just whatever's top of your mind. You don't have to do a lot of soul searching. You ask the question, our subconscious brings it to the surface. We write it down and we take action on it. What do I want? If there's a way that you can quantify that a little bit. So for me, what I wrote down, that this summit would be successful. To drill that down a little bit more, it would be that each participant has clarity on their next step. So that would be a little more, maybe a more quantifying statement to that. For you, if you want to be profitable, well, is that $1? Is that $1,000? Is it $500,000 profit? And by when? Put a date to it. And then the next piece to this is, how will you feel when you accomplish what you put down that you wanted? How will you feel? What will be the emotions that you'll experience? Maybe peace, joy, satisfaction. And I invite you, go ahead and put it in the chat. What are the emotions that you will experience when you accomplish that thing that you've put down as what you want, your goal, your objective, the direction that you're taking? Okay, everybody got that? So write in the chat, what emotions? Is it peace? Is it joy? Is it happiness? Is it excitement? Whatever that is for you, go ahead and write that down. Okay. So the two most important things when we're going on a journey is, first of all, establish where we're at, and second, establish where we want to be. We need to know the distance between those 2 points, and we need to chart a course to get there. We think, well, the quickest way between 2 points is in a straight line. And that's true, but not always is it a direct path to be able to get there. On my journey, here's some of the things that have led me to where I'm at right now. So we'll be married 29 years. Gonna have to update that July 17th this year. Third generation rancher on the ranch that my parents and my grandparents started. I've attended a lot of the schools and courses that are popular. Some of them even before they were popular. I was blessed to be mentored directly by Bud Williams. And my prayer is that through the work that we're doing, this perpetuates the legacy that he and Eunice created. Bud was a great stockman and marketer and manager. He was a deep thinker, and he was able to distill, and through a lot of effort and practice, he could teach the principles that he learned to others, thereby expanding his influence. So it wasn't just, hey, he was a genius. He was able to teach stockmanship and marketing to many throughout the world. I've studied leadership and gone down the soil health path. I've been involved with the Savory Institute. And hey, I wrote a book. If any of you haven't seen my book, super grateful that God inspired me to write this book a few years ago. It was published in 2020. And it is it's not a how-to book, it's a journey, very much following the path of this journey that I'm going to talk about, the Steward's journey. Our ranch is certified regenerative with the Savory Institute. We have a podcast called the Profitable Steward Podcast. We do these events, and I speak and train at other events, and we coach people one-on-one within our company, which is Ag Steward. That's our logo, and that's the name of our company. So that's about me. Where did your journey start, and where are you headed? It might tie back to the direction or what you wrote down as what you want. This is where we're at geographically. We're in the northeast corner of Nevada. We are on two sides of a mountain range. I'm over on this side of the mountain right now, and on the other side of the mountain is where we summer cattle. We have been blessed to steward about 14,000 acres, a little over 14,000 acres that we inherited from my parents, and have an additional 12,000 acres of uplands that we lease, plus some small Forest Service allotments. And so that's where I'm at. Where are you guys at? So if you know where you want to be, let's establish where we're at. And to be able to do this is one of the best ways. This is one of the best tools that I've, I would say, come up with, but I don't think I came up with it. I think it's existed and other people have taught it. It just has the stewardship twist to it that maybe makes it a little easier for us to understand in agriculture terms. So if you want to take a screenshot of this, we're going to come back to this. Each of these phases in this stewardship journey has 5 elements to it. So there's 5 phases, and each phase has 5 elements. So the first element is represented by our story. I'm going to share a quick story about these phases that tie it back to that. Jesus Christ taught with parables. Why did he do that? Because there were things that people could relate to, that he spoke to, about fishes and about sheep, and about sowing seeds. So those stories are the way that you can anchor in that phase and the principles that lie below it. Second, we talked about the emotions that we want to feel when we get what we want. Knowing where we're at in these phases, the emotions are like the signposts along the way that indicate, hey, you're here. Right? The second is, or the third thing is the attribute that we need that will help us to progress from one phase to the next. If we find that we're stuck, and if I hear that language, somebody saying, yeah, I feel stuck, I'll be like, okay, you haven't learned the attributes that you need to be able to move to the next phase. The fourth piece, I guess it would be, is the arrow, which represents what's the purpose of this phase. And then last are the tools or the skills that are needed to help you to progress. Sometimes they're outside, sometimes they're internal. Okay, so everybody got this? We have 5 phases with 5 key elements being story, emotion or emotions, attributes, purpose, and tools. All right, so let me stop sharing. We're going to jump into this first phase. Well, actually, I'm gonna see if I can diagram and illustrate this here. This might be the easiest way to do it because a picture is worth 1,000 words. And so I'm going to speak a lot faster by sharing a picture here. Let's see if we can do this. Okay, there we go. Everybody see that all right? Most people are jumping in and watching this. Okay, we have us here right now. This is just put that star on the map. You are here. And let's pretend this is what you want. This is where you want to be. And that would be represented by the goal or what we want, what you just identified as your want, your goal, your desire. And along this journey, we think, okay, I want to get from point A to point B, where I'm at to where I want to be. And we take off running. We're like, heck yeah, we're going to get there. Well, pretty quick, we find out that maybe the ground falls out from beneath us. And it's like, what just happened? And we fall into this, what we call the slide. So the first one would be the sprint. We take off sprinting. Second is we fall into the slide. That's where we're like, man, what just happened to me? I thought I knew where I was going, and now all of a sudden I want to be going up there and I'm going down here. The third is the depression or the pit, where we maybe lose complete sight of not only where we came from, but where we want to be. And we can blunder around in that space for a long time or a short time, depending on how we frame it. The fourth would be when we finally peek our head up out of that fog, we're able to see again. We're able to look back and we're like, doggone it, I thought I was further ahead. I really maybe can't even see where I want to go, but I know I've got to dig myself up out of here. So that would be represented by number 4, or the climb. And then 5 would be the summit, or, you know, what we call the victory would be number 5. Okay, you guys got this? Again, you can take a screenshot of this if you want to, because we're going to come back to this, and I want you to identify where you're at on this journey as I share these stories about my own regenerative journey. Okay, so the first story, the sprint, when we take off and we're like, I know where I want to be. It's not here. I'm going towards this thing. Maybe it's profitability. Maybe it's more regenerative ranch. Maybe you're starting out and you want to just get, hey, my goal is just to own a home, own some property, grow some food. It really doesn't matter so much because each of us is going to go through this journey. It's springtime here in Nevada, and probably for a lot of us that are listening in, springtime is pretty cool. We got baby calves on the ground. The cows are starting to shed their hair. Things are, the grass is popping up. It's just neat to see. And a lot of times when we go out to gather cattle in the springtime, cattle are, they're kind of just coming off the hay ground, or they're just feeling good. They get that green grass in them. Your horse might be feeling good, and there's that. Like maybe you ride out and you go to gather a bunch of cattle for the day to brand. And you start those cattle and they just kind of take off running and bucking, and the calves are bucking and balling and things are fun, and there's just a jovial feeling to that. And that's how I relate that to like this first phase, or what we call the sprint. It's like, yeah, we're going to gather, we know where we're going towards this branding trap. We got around these cattle, and maybe we wait for a minute, they pick up their calves, and then we take them and we go. So that's the sprint. It's the emotions with that, represented by the circle, are the excitement, there's hope, there's anticipation. There might be a little bit of nervousness also as we start out on that journey towards where we're going. It's like, maybe I don't really want to leave where I'm at, but I'm not happy where I'm at, so I've got to go there. I'm maybe not fully content. It's the attribute needed for this phase. This one's pretty cool. So one of my mentors is Dan Sullivan, and he talks about the 4 C's. You guys can write these down. It starts with commitment. So we say, okay, I'm committing. I'm going to leave where I'm at, and I'm going to go in that direction. There's a commitment. And next is courage. It takes courage to let go of what we know and the security of the place that we're at to start a new direction. The capability comes next, followed by confidence. Everybody wants to feel confident. But when we go in this order and we realize, okay, it takes a commitment, we have to muster up the courage. Sometimes others can help us to have that courage and we don't go alone. We realize that what got us here won't get us there. What got us out of Egypt won't get us to the promised land. We have to gain some new capabilities and some new skills. And then last is the confidence to be able to continue on that trajectory. So we got those 4 C's. Somebody can put them in the chat here. I can see the chat now. Yeah, there you go, Aaliyah. Commitment, courage, capability, and competence. Good job. Appreciate you, Aaliyah, taking notes there. Keeping us on track. And Christina, good job. You guys are engaged. Okay. And then followed by the 1 E, which is endurance. It's enduring, saying, okay, this is my journey. I'm gonna commit, and we're going to carry on. So commitment, courage, capability, confidence, and then build on that. What's the purpose of this, represented by the arrow? What's the purpose of this phase 1? For me, it is right here. It's being able to get really clear on your vision, mission, and values, and what we call our deep and abiding inner why, our sole purpose. It ties into what our mission is. Our mission is our expression of it. Our vision is being able to say, I'm here and I want to be there, and I can envision it. Without vision, the people perish. The values are what provide the guardrails so we can stay on that path, so we're not distracted and we can say no to the appropriate things. And the mission is the vehicle that drives us there. The why is that deep and abiding thing that I believe is endowed from God that keeps us going on this journey. And the tools that are needed, there's a quick peek onto what that next phase is. The tools that are needed, once we have our vision, mission, and values defined, the tools that are needed are the foundations. This is the time when you get really clear on like, okay, what are the things that are going to keep me on course? Foundations being those values and tying them, your mission back to those values. It would be writing out the plan or a business plan, and it's astounding. Some of them are colleagues within the business space that we're in, and specifically entrepreneurship. They're astounded at how many of us manage multi-million-dollar operations, and yet we do not have a 3-year business plan. And just curious, how many of you have a 3-year business plan? How many of you know that, okay, over the next 3 years, here's my KPIs, here's my targets, I know where I'm at, here's where I want to be. At the end of each quarter, where do I need to be able to get there? That's the foundation that we're talking about. Okay, is this making sense? Are you guys catching this? So phase 1, we've gone through the story, gathering cattle, the excitement, the emotions, hope, maybe a little bit of nervousness, the 4 C's, we get clear on that pyramid and defining our why, and we know that now's the time that we build this the foundation so that we have the structure in place so that we can execute. Okay. All right. And if there's any questions, I can see the chat now. But yeah, our business. Hey, somebody does. Lane, you got a 5-year business plan? Awesome. Good to hear. And you are absolutely the exception. And we're going to change that because we feel like that's part of our duty. I'm going to see if I can share this. My daughter shared a picture when let's see, maybe I can't. Anyway, you guys can imagine it. You guys have all been on a roller coaster, right? And when you're starting up that hill, it's pulling you up the hill and you're just about to crest over the top. And you start down, there's a lot of like a little bit of fear, like, holy cow, how did I get into this position? And I'm not a big roller coaster fan, but last year my family and we took a business trip and we spent a day at Knott's Berry Farm, and we went on the log ride and the Ghost Rider. And there's some pretty intense drops. That first drop after you crest and you come down, it's like, whew, man, you literally feel like the ground is falling out and you're just free falling. And you can imagine the look on my face, and that's what was captured in the picture there that I forgot to paste into my slides. But just that fearful, eyes wide, like, holy cow, what am I doing here? So that's my story for this phase 2, which is the slide. So coming up, we've got some anticipation, maybe there's a little bit of fear, and then all of a sudden we come over the top, and it can feel like, holy cow, everything is falling apart. There's a sense of chaos. There's not much difference in the vibration between fear and excitement. And I don't know how the heck they measure that, but I remember sharing that with my son when he was getting on a bronc. He said he was feeling afraid, and I said, well, the cool thing is just shift that a little bit, and it's excitement, and turn that fear into anticipation, into excitement. And so on the roller coaster, that's what we did. And so we would yell and we would scream and we'd put our hands up and we would let out that emotion so that it wasn't fear trapped inside of us. We could say, hey, actually, we're excited about this. So shifting that emotion. What's the attribute that you need on that? For me, it's to surrender. And that's the best way that I can describe it. Once they pull the latch down, you buckle your seatbelt, you're in. You've committed. And there is really no safe way to get off this ride until it stops. And so the best thing you can do is just submit, surrender, and enjoy the ride. So that's the attribute needed. And the purpose in this is just like in the roller coaster, it's to build momentum. Everything throughout most of those roller coaster rides, all the rest of the movement is from that one initial drop. And so if you want to get up the next hill, if you want to get around the next corner, get to the next place, it's to not put on the brakes. It's not try to jump out of the ride. It's not to stop. It's to actually speed things up so that you can get through the dip faster and get out the other side quicker. So it's momentum. That's the purpose of it. Realizing that you're not in control and just learn to ride it out. And what are the tools that are needed? It's the spiritual surrender. It's to trust the process. It's to realize that God has got us, that we're not the ones in charge at this point. We can just submit. How do you do that? What does that look like? Maybe we can help somebody to identify this later on. And I'm going to encourage, or I'm going to invite somebody to be a volunteer and identify where you're at and what you need to get to that next step. But it looks like letting go and trusting and saying, you know what? It feels really scary. And the worst thing you can do is try to either jump out of the ride or try to go back to where you were, because that's almost guaranteed that something or someone's going to be hurt. Okay, so we making sense here? Hang on for the wild ride. I like that, Christina. Yep. Okay. So what's the next phase? You guys remember? It is the pit. It's when we go through that depression. And we talk about it as depression. You think about on a landscape, a depression is where things settle, or a valley can be a depression when there's fog. The fog will settle in the bottom of that valley. There was a time when I experienced this. I took over management of the ranch at a very young age. I was in my mid-20s, and my wife and I had one child. My parents left for a series of missions, and they asked us to steward the ranch for a period of time so they could go and serve. And we said, heck yeah, we'll do it. As we started on that journey, we quickly found out that there were so many things that we didn't know about running a business, about the truly management and leadership aspects of ranching. All the things outside came pretty easily because both of us grew up on ranches, but the business side we didn't know. Those things caught up to us. Within a matter of a decade, we were deeper in debt than when we were when we took over management. We had lost some of the value in our net worth because of decisions that we had made, that I had made as a manager. I felt deeply responsible in the weight of where we were at that point in our business. And I started to feel that weight, and that weight caused me to feel depressed and to lose hope, to not have sight of neither where we came from or where we were going. Where we came from the legacy that got me here, and where we were going, the vision that we had created. And so in that state of depression, the low point came when, we got a foreclosure letter in the mail, and I couldn't see what to do differently. And I felt like I was the problem. When my net worth started to go down, my self-worth followed suit. I didn't see that I had value because the things that I were doing didn't seem valuable. And at the low point, I had the thought that perhaps it would be better off if I were to remove myself from the equation and my family were to collect on life insurance. So I'd gone from being super excited, taking over management of the ranch, and within a matter of a decade was like, I'm going to give up on everything, including my own life. And that was the temptation that was planted in my mind of a way out, to be able to find a way out of this depression. Can anybody else relate to that? I mean, I know because I've been there, I've seen it. And because I was in that state, other people saw it in me, and they were able to reach out and help me. So the emotions that accompany that are feeling overwhelmed, the uncertainty, the doubt, the despair. When people say, I can't see where I need to be, I'm like, okay, you're probably in a depression. We just have to keep going and rise up out this other side, and you'll be able to gain some clarity. Don't give up. Don't give up. That is not the answer for anyone, yourself included. Don't give up. I'm so grateful that I was able to tap into my faith in my Savior Jesus Christ. I doubled down on prayer. I reached out to my family. I had mentors who could relate to me, who reached out to me, and they helped pull me up out of that depression to where I could see again and realize, hey, I do remember where I'm going. So the attribute needed is absolute faith. We think we have faith until we go through that trying experience, and that's where we really find out. The purpose is refinement and testing. I wish there was an easier way, but we don't have to do it alone. We have God's help, our Savior's help. We have family. I can guarantee there's somebody in your circle, if you're there, that will help you. And if you've been there, you probably need to reach back and help somebody else, just like my mentors did for me. And the tools needed are to remember that inner compass. Because again, when you're in that state, it's like you don't have vision. Without vision, people perish. You can't remember where you came from. you don't have an anchor point even back to the past, and you feel really lost. You can't tie to the future because you can't see it. And it just takes that inner compass of saying, being quiet. Where do I need to be? What direction do I need to go? It's spiritual grounding. It's having a mentor who will give you the guidance to say, hey, just keep going. You are so close. But doggone it, the adversary wants to lie to us and say you will never get there and you're lost. And don't believe that. Okay? Whew. I'm so glad. I'm so grateful that I had somebody to help me through that process. Okay, so we'll go quick through these next two. Phase 4 is the climb, where we get out of that depression. And we call it depression because I think of it a lot like the valley fog. You know, when you get up on the bench, it's warmer, it's clearer, you can see the sunshine again. But in the valley, it's tough. So this is where we start to climb back up out of the backside of that. I went through Lyme's disease. That was my story and my experience to tie back to that. It happened, it came on really quick, and I'm very blessed that I had the help that I needed. On Sunday, I started to feel a little bit weak in my hands, like, man, I can't grip anything. By Monday, it was a little bit worse. By Tuesday, I could barely button up my shirt. By Wednesday, I couldn't pull on my socks. But finally, Friday, I'm like, okay, there's something wrong here. And so I went to a holistic doctor, and he's like, did you get bit by a tick? And I'm like, oh, yeah, it happens all the time. What do you mean? He's like, well, you're testing for Lyme's disease. And I didn't even really know what it was, but I was blessed to know where to go and the help that I needed. The strength didn't come back quick, and it was a climb to be able to rebuild my strength back out of that. And it was trying. It was a hard thing. But part of the journey was learning, hey, a lot of things about it. One, my self-worth is not tied to my ability to be able to do things, because I couldn't do much for the 6 weeks there. And it took a matter of a couple months to be able to get back to where I was actually fully functional again. So that's my story, the Lyme's disease. You guys probably all have your own story of your climb that you've been through. Those emotions that can be frustrating, can be like, doggone it. Because if you remember, if you look back on that, well, let me share my screen here, just so you can, again, it's pictures worth 1,000 words, but when you get through this depression, you get at this startup, this phase 4, there might be a little plateau and you're thinking, doggone it, I made it. I might even be further ahead than I was over here. I'm a little bit higher. I made it. But then you're like, no, I didn't, because my goal is up here. So there's some frustration, but there's also a determination. Like, man, I am not going back there. I don't want to go back through this chasm to get back over here. So the only way is up. And that's where you tap into that grit and that determination. So the emotions would be frustration, resistance, temptation to quit or settle, especially when you're on this little bit of a plateau. The attribute needed is that conviction. It's like, remember back to the commitment that we made over here. You have to recommit, get convicted, say, yes, absolutely, I'm going forward. And the purpose is to build strength. When I went through Lyme's disease, you know, I could have just laid on the couch and probably not rebuilt my strength. But because I was like, doggone it, you know, I'm in my 30s here. I am not going to let this thing get me. And so, you know, walking and started doing push-ups and all the things that I needed to rebuild my strength again. That was part of it. The other thing with this is to, eliminate the purpose of this is to teach you to eliminate the distractions, all the things that aren't serving you. It's time to let go of those things. It's to deepen your commitment and truly rise again. The tools that are needed, they're a team, they're focus, it's forgiveness. Forgiveness is just weight in our backpack. When we don't forgive, it's like having extra rocks in our backpack when we're trying to climb that hill. It's saying no to the things that are not serving us. It's like when the pioneers get to that, they come across the plains, they come across Nebraska, they get to that first big hill in Wyoming, and they're like, we can't make it up this hill with this piano. They packed it all that way. They're like, we could either stay here and sing songs, or we can let the piano go and we're going to climb this hill. You have to release that weight. It's a lot of times saying no to things. Okay. And then victory up here, this 5, that's the last one. That's the summit. One time when Selena and I were moving cattle, we had cattle got into some halogeton, which is a poisonous plant. It has oxalates in it, and it causes renal failure, I think. Anyway, the cattle go down pretty quick. And we'd actually lost a few cattle on that trail, getting from our summer to our winter range. Just perfect conditions, heavy snow, and the only thing that was showing was that halogeton. And my dad just said, we just got to get them around the mountain where the snow's not so deep, feed showing. And so we did. And along the trail, getting those cattle around the mountain, it was multi-day. And one day this cow went down, and my wife trotted up to her and jumped off her horse. And I'm like, what are you doing? And she started jumping on that cow, jumping on her rib cage, just up and down, with her 120 pounds or whatever she weighed back then. And I thought, what the heck have we got to lose? So she did, and by golly, that cow started to move and rolled up on her sternum. And then Selena jumped off, and she jumped up and kind of staggered away and then caught up with the herd and walked off. You got to be willing to try anything to get there. What did we have to lose to go and say, hey, we're going to save this one cow? What are the emotions? So that's my story. Selena jumping on a cow, saving her. What are the emotions? Gratitude, joy, contentment. Sometimes we are so stuck in the struggle that when we get to that summit, we don't rejoice. And we don't say, hey, look at how far I've come. Look at my journey and what God has been able to accomplish through me, and who I've become in the process. So we might also feel discontent. Really, this is it? All this for this? But it really depends on how we frame it. The discontent could be holy discontent, like, yeah, you've made it here, but remember, this isn't the promised land yet. We got you across the Red Sea, but you're not there yet. Don't pitch your tent here. God you going. And you guys can probably see this pattern, right? When we reach that level 5, things start over again, and we're basically back right into the sprint. So what are the attributes needed at service? It's being able to say, hey, I'm grateful that I am here. I can see somebody that's in that depression down there, and I'm going to go help them. What's the purpose? One of them is to rest. God rested on the 7th day. We should rest. Highly effective people take time off. I mentioned Dan Sullivan, my mentor. He plans 150 days off of work every year. And because of that, he's more effective. It's to multiply through scaling, through building our legacy, through reestablishing that team, refocusing on our strategic direction. And what are the tools needed? This is where we really double down on building out the systems, on teaching, because when you find your voice, it is your duty to teach and to help other people to find their voice. This is where the stewardship and the legacy and the succession planning really comes in, because you're here and now you're saying, okay, how can we help that next generation to get here? Okay, so those are the 5 phases. I want to go through and then I want everyone to identify where you're at on this journey. So phase 1 is the sprint. Phase 2 is the slide. Let me just share this again. Oh, you guys can see it, right? Phase 2, yeah, we'll go through here. Phase 1 is the sprint. Phase 2 is the slide. 3 is the pit. 4 is the climb. And 5 is the victory or the summit. So go ahead and put in the chat where you guys are at. Super informal poll. let's see where everybody's at right now. Are you in phase 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5? Okay, so we got some 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s. Looks like quite a few 4s, quite a few in that 3.5, 2 to 3. Very cool. Okay. Yeah, keep them coming in. I want to see, and I will go back and look through these because this is important to me. When we're coaching and mentoring people, we can identify more clearly. And this is, again, if you remember, it's like you guys aren't having to think so hard about this, right? Like when I asked where you're at, boom, all these answers are coming in. If there's any uncertainty about where you're at, think about those emotions. You know, am I in the I can't see phase? Am I in the struggle and having to double down and really climb? That may help you to identify it. Okay, you guys are awesome. You guys are awesome. Thanks for sharing those. Keep them coming in. Where are you at on this stewardship journey? So, okay. Well, actually, what we're gonna do, because our next speaker is up here shortly. For anyone who would like to, I am willing to stick around for an extra 15 minutes after we conclude. If anybody would like some coaching to see where they're at right now and where they need to be, that'll be a bonus session after. So we conclude at approximately 4 o'clock this afternoon Pacific time. Don't know what time that is for all of you, but we encourage you to stay on if you want to and just volunteer. The best way to do that would be to send me a personal message in the chat. Just look for the Jared Sorensen in the chat. Send me a message. Say, hey, I want some help with this. Everybody is invited to come. You have to be willing to be a little bit vulnerable. And I can guarantee that breakthrough, there can be a quick and immediate shift so that you can continue on that journey and have clarity. All right, any questions? Any questions that you guys have? Anything that you see, Lydia or Margot, that you want to bring? I'm not able to scroll back clear through the chat. You guys can unmute and ask a question if you feel like there's one that's relevant. Okay. All right. So why did I feel like I needed to share this? What in the heck does this have to do with regenerative agriculture, livestock production? How does this tie into the next 3 days? I'm going to pull back the curtain a little bit about what we do here at Ag Steward. Profitability, soil health, livestock management, our relationships, all the things that we steward are a representation of the steward. And our steward, ourselves, the better we can steward the small things, the better we can steward the big things. And so when I'm coaching or working with business or a team, it's helpful for me and for them to identify where they're at on this journey and identify what are the skills and the tools that they need to be able to get through that next phase and ultimately to get to their destination. But let me tell you a secret. The destination is wonderful as it is, and as much as we encourage setting goals at Ag Steward, we have a monthly mastermind meeting the first Monday of the month, and we report on our goals from last month. We celebrate each other's wins, and we identify our goals for the next month, and we hold each other accountable. So goals are important, but it's who we become in the process that truly matters. Because I believe that, we can miss the goal and we can still become a steward. That's why it's the steward's journey. And I think that's what sets us apart between other schools and other consultancies and other educational opportunities, is because we really focus on the steward first. And when we do that, they're better able to fulfill their stewardships. We don't judge the steward by the stewardships, just like it was wrong for me to judge my stewardship and myself based on my net worth. We just utilize those as indicators like, hey, something's off. Where are you at on the journey? What do we need to shift? How can we help you? And we get going down that path again. So that's a little behind the scenes, because if we don't understand these principles, we'll continue to face frustration in the things that we steward outside, those external things. It starts within us. And I shared with you earlier, all of you have seen the opportunity to jump into the next step with Ag Steward, and that is the Profitable Steward 2-day class. So can I share a little bit about that with you guys? By the way, how many of you have already registered for the 2-day class? Go ahead and put me in the chat if you've already registered. It looked like we're almost a little over halfway full, maybe halfway full right now. So we've got Corey, Adeline. Yeah. Okay. GA is in there. Perfect. You guys. Wonderful. And I know there's some of you that have been on this, that are on this summit, that are repeats, even though you've watched these things before. Each class is a little bit different depending on where we're at. So I'm going to share this page with you. Let me pull it up here. Okay, here it is. And Margot put it in the chat there as well. Okay, so who is this? Well, let me just back up. Always start with why. Why did we create the Profitable Steward class? If you're like me, you'll come to a summit, you'll get excited, you'll be like, I'm going to go change the world. Remember what Steve Campbell said about cattle selection? Remember what Liz Haney said about doing this soil test? And then you walk out the door and there's some emergency, and pretty soon a month goes by, and then 2 months, and then 3 months, and you're like, I should really go back and look at those notes. There's all those good things that I wrote down. Man, I'm just so swamped. I don't know. Let's just get through this season, and then we're gonna double down and do this. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. Can you guys relate? Does that ever happen to you, where you get excited and then maybe that excitement fizzles quick? Well, that's really why we've created the Profitable Steward, is so that you are continuing on this stewardship journey. No matter where you're at, phases 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, we can help you get to that next level and then repeat that process over. So really, now that you understand the stewardship journey, you can decide, hey, do I need some additional coaching and help to get further down this journey, further down this path? All right, so here's the landing page. Looks a little bit different than the registration page when you signed up. Go ahead and encourage you to open that. We're just 15 days away, strategically placed so that you've got 2 weeks so that you can know, hey, there is something else that I need to look forward to and that I'm going to be doing 2 weeks from now. This is what you're going to learn, and basically who it's for farmers, ranchers, landowners who want to increase profitability, create a lasting legacy, and operate without relying on government subsidies or subsidies of any kind. That'd be that unpaid, underpaid labor. So who is this? Who is this actually for? This is for people who are committed to regeneration. Again, size and scale don't really matter. Like if you're saying, hey, I'm going to be regenerative on 100 acres or 1,000 acres or 10,000 acres, you will benefit from this experience. Where is it? It's on Zoom. It's going to be similar to this, so you don't have to travel. May 1st and 2nd. I think that's a Thursday and Friday. So 2 weeks from now. And the price, because you're here, is $47. And pretty cool thing that nobody knew about that I'm going to unveil. You guys up for a bonus if you sign up during the event here? And it has to be during the event, otherwise you're going to miss it. You're going to miss this live. So our keynote speaker, Burke Tigert, is actually doing a bonus session just for those who sign up for this class. So when we talk to him, we're like, hey, let's do a general one. He's going to be on our panel as well. But then the next step is like, don't miss this bonus session. This is the time where we can dive deep and kind of take what we've learned at a high level and begin to apply it for you and your business and where you're at. So cool. Welcome in, Thomas Rodriguez. Absolutely. So take a minute, register for that. We're going to bring our next speaker up. But what have you guys thought so far? So this is the end of the morning of day 1. Love to get some feedback from you guys in the chat. What are your takeaways? What are your insights? What are your thoughts? John says, awesome. Yes. Yep, absolutely. Way to sum it up.